going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll be talking about the Bitcoin price chart along with the altcoin market and the XRP price chart. As we reach the middle of the week, it's Wednesday. Today, there's the release of Markets in the Morning, the live stream, but I have a video to go along with it with some of the things we will be talking about in Markets in the Morning for those who prefer video format. But I already know I'm going to share a couple of thoughts over there in Markets in the Morning. I wanted to do it in video form too, of just where we are in pretty much all markets right now and how this just has the feeling of such an asymmetric bet of where we are at right now, such a make or break moment in equity markets, in crypto markets, and how it's just kind of like waiting for this market to give itself a decision, which it just isn't really giving to us at this point. As you know, we've shown a lot of things in here of what the correlation is like for the altcoin market with breadth, and when it comes to the Russell 2000, and then Bitcoin when it comes to consolidation of markets, and how we've seen with the large caps over there, the S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow, that this market has really been propped up by a couple of names, a handful of names to hold the whole market together. Whereas the broader participation in the market has not been there, and that's been the same elements we've seen over here in the altcoin market versus Bitcoin. But the thing we keep witnessing over here in the Russell 2000 is just this absolute tease to get out of here, and the unknown of whether or not it's going to bust its way out of here or if it's going to pull its way back from here. And this has been going on for about a week at this point. And one of the things that's just so fascinating is to look at where the highest daily close was back here in 2021. Obviously, this is our actual all-time high at 2,463.6 for the Russell 2000. That's your highest daily candle close there on November 8th. Then you head over in here to November of 2024. As you all know, we go through the election. We see crypto pump. XRP goes from 50 cents to $3. We get a new all-time high wick that happens right here. We also get a new highest daily candle close happening in here, but unable to close above that 2021 all-time high. Now we move over here to 2025, and we can see that we've gotten a brand new all-time high close, and where the price just keeps kind of hovering around in here, right? So like this is the new all-time high from 2024. This is the all-time high from 2021. This is the highest record close that we have had back over in here in November of 2024. And this is the highest close that we had from November of 2021. And what we just continue to do is bounce around in this area undecisive. We get this nice big wick yesterday. We set a new all-time high yesterday, but still unable to keep it. Can't hold above the 2024 record high. Can't hold above the 2021 all-time high, but still maintaining on top of all the record closes that we've had, right? And so it's just so indecisive right now, and we're all just waiting for it to choose, right? Are we going to get a big fat breakout, or is there going to be a big pullback that happens in here? If there's a big pullback that happens from right here at this massive resistance level, well, then we're going to see crypto dump on itself. But if we see this thing bust out of here, then what is crypto going to do, right? Historical precedent set by that says that the crypto market's going to rip. But on like Sunday night in the middle of the night, what do we get? We get a liquidation in the cryptocurrency market. And it's like, man, that's odd, right? Like, you got the Russell pushing on here. You got these prices pushing up in here. But it's like the crypto market kind of giving that hint that it's not ready to get out. That doesn't mean that liquidation wasn't the bottom or anything like that, but still just like another element of interesting behavior to add to it, that the Russell has refused to get out of here. And then that liquidation happens in the crypto market. And so there's very few times in a market where like I'm just like really uncertain or really uncomfortable. And a lot of times those are going to be when prices are up, and when we're up bucking against major resistances. I get it. It never feels good when major falls happen, right? After major falls happen, everybody gets angry. Everybody looks at their portfolio value and they say, oh, look, it's way down. Now I'm angry. I'm going to be toxic and mad, and I'm going to say prices are never going to go up. Blah, 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 rabble, rabble, rabble. And I understand. I understand because that doesn't feel good. But when it comes to like actually like being nervous and uncertain, of course, it's once we get back to major resistance levels and we sit there, and especially when we just sit there and we just kind of stall there with big wicks to both sides, but still all these closes hanging out right in here. And like when I look around, I don't feel like I'm getting like major signals for either direction on which way to feel like completely biased towards. Like I look at Binance Coin, right? This is one that we've tracked for a long time. little do you know, but every time I update my thumbnail for my YouTube channel, it's from an old blueprint of thumbnails that originally had the Binance chart on it when we were down in here, when we're talking about Wyckoff accumulation and that this is your spring happening in here. Well, we've worked all the way back up, as you could see, gets a couple attempts to get through the highs, and now finally we're out. We're hitting the first Fibonacci extension level over here for Binance Coin. Things just look to be humming along. Like that's probably our first wave for Binance Coin. There's still could be more to come. Ethereum, of course, you look at that big picture over in there, we see a lot of those same behaviors of what we've seen with Bitcoin in the past and with the Russell 2000 in the past, right? That we have this long accumulation of crash, retrace, reaccumulation with the C19 crash, right? Crash, retrace, reaccumulation, of course, ending with the tariff crash, back to the highs, back to the highs. Who goes back to the highs with Ethereum? Well, the Russell 2000, like we've seen, right? So we see all these confluences of similar behavior happening in here. The current price behavior that we have in here is nothing unusual for how prices can react to just go slam right back down into these floors before then lifting off and actually ending up going. Like we've talked about with Solana as well. These things aren't crazy to see in here, but things that of course like just open that door of concern is just the price behavior over here on XRP. And like, is this giving some type of clue, right? We've looked at XRP through this lens as well. If you're just, shooting back to the high, you set the new high, then you go in for the ABC, and then eventually you push your way off and away you go, like we've seen over here with gold over the last couple of years. And of course, like we've seen with Bitcoin multiple times before, that you just do this ABC off of these highs and then you shoot off and away you go. That's still always been a reasonable possibility over here for the XRP price chart. But, that liquidation comes, we come and hit those lows. Again, you still open this door of, geez, all right, is this chart in particular showing some additional weakness? Similarly to like what we saw with Cardano when it came to its ending back in 2021, right? I look at this structure that's happened in here for XRP, and it of course brings back some memories as well, specifically for the XRP price chart. If you were just going to look at it, even through the lens of all of this stuff over in here, that you could just shrink that down a little bit, head on over, and there's a little bit of familiarity that's happened in here, right? This, of course, is where XRP retraces to the 702 retracement precisely. And what happens? The SEC versus Ripple lawsuit case has officially come to an end as both parties officially file and get acknowledged for their appeals being dropped, making it officially over at the retracement. Then price comes in for a second 702 Fibonacci retracement of this entire range happening in here, and we slam back down into the lows once again. And now price just kind of waddles around in here like this, not truly giving what would look like an ABC correction to happen in here, but still just kind of mimicking that price behavior that we saw over there with Cardano. So I think you have this really complex picture over here with Bitcoin, this complex picture over here with the XRP price chart. But then at the same time, you have other aspects of the market that look completely fine and behaviors that you totally could see right before things actually rip and roar. And that we're witnessing aspects of this market that are in a true bull run, like Binance Coin, right? And when you have things like Ethereum knocking on these highs, just like we've seen before with this Russell 2000 pushing. So, you got this complicated picture over here for XRP, this major resistance level here for the altcoin market way back at the highs, and this really indecisive Russell 2000 that's sitting right in here. And so it's just, I think you have so many mixed signals coming through the market right now. And then you have this major resistance where it's just stalling out at and stuck in between, right? It hasn't like done a major rejection from it. It hasn't done a major breakout from it. It's just sitting right in it, waffling all around it. And I think, right, if this is able to bust out, well, then what happens with the crypto market? My general thoughts are all these discussions in here become irrelevant on XRP because it's likely to go up with the Russell. It's exactly what happened back in 2024, right? My thoughts are Ethereum would bust out with it too at the exact same time. But it feels like we're completely at the mercy of what ends up happening right here for the Russell 2000. And then if the Russell 2000 falls from here, then we're going to see everything else in the crypto market fall at the same time. And Alex Becker, whether you hate him or love him, I find his tweets to be pretty entertaining over there on X. He pretty much puts it into like the true perspective of the literal exact moment of where we're at. If this is the top, you're about to lose 50% on majors and 70% on mid and low cap alts. If it's not, you're about to make 4 to 5x on majors and 10 to 20x on mid and low cap alts. It's the most lopsided bet you'll ever see in finance. Don't overthink it. It's simply worth the shot. Now, that's for anybody's discretion of whether or not they think it's worth the shot and whether or not things are going to 4 to 5x or 10 to 20x. I'm not here to agree or disagree with any of that, but it feels like the significance of the actual moment of where we are right now is that type of bet where it's like, if it busts out of here, obviously we're going to see an extreme market based on historical behavior of what we have seen in this market. But also if it falters and falls from right here, we're probably going to see pretty big fat red candles happen in the market. And I'm real unsure of whether or not that's going to happen here or not. But I sit here every day staring at it saying, what are you going to do? And I feel uncomfortable coming on here, making a title and being like, epic gains inbound, surge galore about to come if we're going to pull back from here. I also feel uncomfortable saying, hey, watch out, big correction coming before we rip out of here, because it might not. It could bust out of here right now. It feels like it's at either one. And I kind of started this by saying there's very few times where I'm like kind of on edge, a little nervous. Yeah, big drawdowns never feel very good. People get angry, they get mad, blah, 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 rabble, 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 whatever. That's not the time where I get really nervous or uncomfortable. It's when we're at places like this. It's when we're at multi-year resistances and that they're big deciding points that you could break out from here. And we're talking like a 4-year long breakout, the longest, most painful crypto cycle that has ever happened in the crypto market. Why? Because it's got nothing to do with block reward halvings, has everything to do with breadth in equity markets. The equity markets have been uncooperative like this for the first time in crypto's entire history, which is why everybody who's used the exact same 2013, 2017, 2021 blueprint has struggled so hard because it's not the same market. There's never been a case where the S&P, Dow Jones, and NASDAQ get out together and the Russell doesn't go along with it. They all went together in 2013, 2017, and 2021. That's why just using the same blueprint was fine in 2021, but not now. So if this thing busts out of here, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be huge. If it falters and fumbles from here, there's going to be red candles, right? And there's very few moments where I'm like going to come onto the channel and like express that of like, gosh, man, like there's a lot of uncomfortable feelings that are right here at this particular spot. There's a lot of, clickable titles we can make of like make or break moment, right? But it clearly is. It is clearly a make or break moment for the market. And the market just sits here not giving this deciding answer as we go through another week. And I don't want to predict which way it's going to end up going. I can just kind of give like what would the meaning be of whichever way it ends up going? If this thing busts out from in here and there's a clear defined breakout, especially if we get it at the weekly close where like by Friday that ends up happening and then we close the week here, boy, crypto's probably going to do phenomenal through the weekend, right? Then you can probably see Ethereum follow suit. You see the altcoin market follow suit. And everything's going to be happy-go-lucky. But if it falters and fumbles from right here, then, we open up this cans of worms right here of the discussions that we've been having. So very difficult for me to predict what like the next short-term move is going to be. But what I can recognize in here and communicate on the channel is I see significance in it. That if it goes one way or the other, it's probably going to be significant. Well, I don't necessarily agree with the numbers that Alex Becker has used in here. I think it is that type of bet right in here of where you're at. I'll never tell you when to buy, never tell you when to sell. I don't ever tell you, hey, it's a good place to maybe take 25% off or it's a good place to double down or anything like that. That's all for your own personal choices, your own risk tolerance. But I think, we're at a point in the market right in here where if this thing busts out of here, it's going to be probably very, very, very exciting for the cryptocurrency market. But I also think if we do falter and fumble from right here, it's going to end up being some decent pain in the cryptocurrency market. So we're in a particular moment in the market where there's things to be excited about. There's optimistic things that are happening here in this market and structural setups that are happening in this market. Some of these structures are not crazy to see happen before things can get really exciting. But at the same time, there's mixed pictures that are happening. There's uncertainty on how these particular structures will end up playing out. And in the end, we've done a really good job painting that picture and that correlation and that unequivocal correlation of what happens between these markets. And we're at the most decisive moment of the market right now. And it's going to go one way or it's going to go the other. And that's going to dictate the future of what's going to end up happening in this crypto market, whether you like it or not, whether you believe in particular fairy tales or secrets upon secrets, whatever you want to think. But everything probably depends on this guy. And this guy is going to tell us our story. And we sit here waiting to find out what that is going to be. And so, like everybody, I'm sitting here biting my fingernails, wondering which way that's going to end up going. I don't have the answer for you on if it's going to be some news catalyst that boom, shoots it out, everything goes together, or if there's going to be some other type of news catalyst that goes the other way. What I can do is totally paint this picture to show you how significant it actually is where we're at right now. We're either embarking on a moment of that's going to be absolute glory or on a moment of a deep pullback. And that is typical of what happens when you get to major historical resistance levels. Today, as I sit here wondering, is it going to happen today? Is it going to happen this week or next week? I have to sit kind of neutral. I don't really know. The second something would happen that would be like, oh, that's looking like it's going to be the new trend, and here's the reason why, because of this, and this, I'll be more than happy to come onto the channel and present that. But what I can show is how it's a very tense moment right here. The all-time high from 2021 is 2,463.6. As I'm recording right now, we are sitting at 2,463.3. We are 0.3 points below the 2021 all-time high. Now 0.2, right? So I want to show that. I want to paint that picture of how intense of a moment it is right now. And we're waiting for this thing to give a very solid defining answer in here. And once we get that, then we'll be able to have a real clear picture on direction. Because historically, it's the thing that matters. So we'll keep our eyes on it, obviously. It's rare that I put out a video on the same day that I do markets in the morning. I think I was just prepared for markets in the morning very early this morning, had some extra time to kind of put a lot of those thoughts into an actual video and get it edited before markets in the morning goes live. So this recording was done before markets in the morning, but it'll be released once markets in the morning is complete. So if you made it to the end, you kind of got like 2 different time frames of me. Either way, no more rambling. I'll check in with you guys soon. You can subscribe to the newsletter over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. The most recent one has a 43-minute audio recording on it. This is where I do more of like deep dives, long thought processes on what's going on in the markets. It's available over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. There's a link down here in the description of this video to the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, guys, have a wonderful day, and I'll check in with you soon. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.